Anybody who caught us on our last stream will know that I'm a huge fan of Mikanko right now. They really surprised me. When I initially read these cards, I expected to just sort of gloss over it. Wasn't even going to really look at them. I was probably going to do a video and move on. But unironically, these guys are probably the most fun deck that I've picked up in quite a while. Definitely the most fun out of the new box. Again, sorry Galaxy Eyes, but the title goes to Mikanko. These guys are so fucking fun. And they just completely defy what it means to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In a traditional sense. They come at it from a completely fresh perspective, entirely unique win condition, and I absolutely love it. So the gameplay, very marginal changes in the deck list as we're playing. This is the deck list we actually came to the conclusion of at the end of our last stream. The gameplay you're about to watch is from before that stream, but by and large, the deck is basically the same. The only thing we really changed is we took out Diviner, and we put in like a second Fire Dance, and we put in like another Kaiju or something like that. I can't remember specifically. The changes were very, very minimal. But this is the deck we ended up playing on stream. This is the one we had a lot of fun with. We pushed up in the space of a couple of hours. We went from Diamond 4, Diamond 5 up to Diamond 2. So this deck definitely has a competitive edge to it as well, which is the bit that I find most impressive. So we are going to be doing a card for card deck profile at the end for anybody who doesn't know how the deck works and maybe wants me to go through it in a detailed breakdown. We're going to do that at the end of the video, but first we are going to be showing off some gameplay so you have an idea as to what the combos are, what the cards do, and sort of get a glimpse at it before you just start trying to absorb all this information. Seeing it first always helps you learn because it actually contextualizes the things that I'm explaining to you later in the video, so that you're not just listening to me, it's going in one ear and out the other. You know what I mean? So watch the gameplay first of all, and if you're interested in these styles of complete competitive breakdowns, absolutely subscribe. We do them on a regular basis. Normally we do a video per day. Very soon I will be going on vacation, so we might need to bump that down a little bit, very temporarily, but for the most part we're usually a video per day. So subscribe if you're interested in catching new content every single day. Like the video if you enjoy watching. If you have the means or you want to support the channel a little bit extra, you can of course join us as a member right down below. Link is in the description, as well as the join button right down underneath the video. But I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty, getting into game one here. It is important to note this is a blind second deck. Blind second, you want to go second all the time, every time, all day, every day, you know it. We did end up cutting Diviner. We cut Diviner for a couple of reasons. It's actually a pretty decent card if you want to play it. It's not a bad card in this deck at all. In fact, it enables quite a lot in terms of extra deck plays. So a lot of people do play it. I personally cut it because I don't like how it clashes with Lava Golem and Hidden Armory. But you totally can, right? It is entirely up to you. So we're playing against, from the looks of it, Cyber Dragons, which is interesting. I think they wanted to go second, but we won the coin toss and we went second. So this is going to be a very straightforward game, just displaying some of the actual like plays and combos, right? So this one's going to be pretty straightforward, nothing too fancy here. I actually vaguely remember back, this isn't the greatest opening hand. I actually vaguely remember this guy put up like a tremendous fight for the deck he was using and situation he was in. Because one of the big weaknesses of this deck is that if your opponent doesn't summon any strong monsters, it's a little bit difficult for you to end the game in one go. It really is. We're going to drop the Diviner. We're going to go for Ceremony here. Summoning out the Yoheim. You do not need to ritual summon this card. You can summon it off of Ceremony. We're going to grab his monster off of our equip spell. This equip spell is fucking disgusting, right? You can equip this onto any monster. Then you can use the effect to special summon out a Mikanko, equip this card onto the newly summoned Mikanko monster, and the original target gets bounced back to hand. See, using this card alongside a Kaiju, alongside a Lava Golem to bounce, like to tribute their field, bounce that shit back, and then tribute their field again, is absolutely insane. This card is broken. We get to bring out the Wind Mikanko here. Wind Mikanko, while it's in the field and while it's equipped, all of our Mikanko cards become untargetable. Very good, but our opponent doesn't have any monsters, so we can't go for lethal damage. So we're going to need to play it safe here. We do have some interruptions, at least. They are going to go for the Cyber Dragon Core yet again. We're going to go for the Rivalry here. Rivalry is going to equip on the Axe of Fools, boosting his attack points up by 1,000 and negating his effects. Cyber Emergency then activating, grabbing another core from deck for some reason. He's going to go for the Nashter here. Nashter dropping Maxi to summon itself out to the field, now going into Verte Anaconda. We're going to go for Rivalry here. Rivalry banishing itself grabbing us back an equip spell here from the graveyard. Going for the Raigeki here, we're going to go for Oheim, equipping the Axe of Fools onto the Verte Anaconda. I ideally would have liked to hold off on using that until he activated Verte Anaconda's effect, but Oheim basically allows you to equip a card, an equip spell from your graveyard onto an appropriate monster in the field. Which means if you have cards like Axe of Fools or Reflection or anything like that in your graveyard, it actually turns Oheim into a negate, which is pretty interesting. We equip that on, Verte is now negated. He does wipe out our Oheim. Our wind monster is indestructible, thanks to its effect. Can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, which is pretty handy. And again, our opponent just passes turn. I guess they know, and this is going to be something that happens a lot as well. People have generally figured out how to beat Mikanko, and they just don't play anything big. So expect to see that a lot. You're going to need to come up with some creative solutions here. We're going to bounce back the wind to summon the fire. Fire grabbing us the Fire Dance. Fire Dance then going to special summon out the wind Mikanko yet again. Swinging in, we're going to deal 3,000 damage to your opponent here. And then we're going to pass turn back. And again, for anybody who doesn't know what just happened, the way in which this deck actually wins is that you swing into your opponent's monsters that are bigger than yours. Your monsters aren't destroyed by battle, and your opponent actually takes any damage that you otherwise would have. So he's going to summon Saber Dragon Core for the third time in this duel, going into the Saber Repair Plant. Saber Repair Plant going to get searching for a Galaxy Soldier. Finally, our opponent has some gas. They're going to go for the Soldier here, dropping a light monster to the graveyard to summon out the Soldier. Soldier triggering Chain Link 1, and hers is going to activate Chain Link 2. Hers is going to search the deck for a OG base Saber Dragon, while Galaxy Soldier is going to be grabbing another Galaxy Soldier. Now, grabbing the Saber Dragon means he does have the discard fodder necessary to summon out the newly searched Soldier, so he does bring it out. He is going to go in the Saber Dragon Nova here. Going to activate Nova's effect, detaching material to bring back the Nashter from the graveyard. Nashter bringing back the Saber Dragon from the grave as well, flooding the field with some additional resources here to go into Saber Dragon Infinity. Unfortunately for him though, our field is untargetable so long as our wind monster is equipped with an equip card. They're going to go for the Auroradon here. Auroradon summoning out 3 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens and using its effect to tribute 1 to target our water equip and destroy it. But unfortunately, it's not going to do him a lot of good here because our monsters are still pretty much indestructible. Axe of Fools dealing 500 points of damage to our opponent. Extravagance now activating. Again, Infinity unable to target us. Our effects don't activate. They're inherent effects. He can't do anything. This is lethal on board. We just attack and that is lethal on board. And our opponent knows it and they surrender. I was actually pretty impressed by our opponent in that matchup. That's, of course, not like the greatest, most competitive match in the world, right? Don't get me wrong. But they had fucking spirit, right? They continued to play no matter how much we interrupted them. So very well done to them. That was a very good game. I unironically really enjoyed that. I was in a Discord call with Grim at the time of this happening. I spent a lot of time in Discord calls with, again, normally there's like 5 or 6 or 7 people who join in. If you want to join in on that, absolutely hop into the Discord below and you can join in those types of sessions as well. They are open to everybody. They just happen on a regular basis, so anyone can hop in. But yeah, really fun game. Let's get in the game too. Okay, so we had Blaine second against Blaine second, but let's try a slightly more competitive matchup. Let's go against the Fissure Kashtira. This is a deck that would actually give a lot of the decks on the tier list quite a bit of trouble. Bringing out the Ascended of Thunder here off the normal summon, go into Shangri-La and pass. Now, what exactly is our out to this? Again, we removed Prosperity from the deck and Diviner from the deck. These two cards kind of clashed with what we were looking to do. You'll notice on Hidden Armory, if you activate this card, you can't normal summon or set that turn, and Hidden Armory is infinitely more useful than Diviner, which is why we cut it. Pot of Prosperity also sort of clashes with your win con because it halves the damage you would deal, so we did eventually cut this card as well. But I'm just giving you options to let you know that like these cards are cards you can play, right? You can play these if you wanted to. Luckily for us, though, we do have the ability to break this board here. We're going to go the Equip spell onto the Fenrir, summoning out the Fire, sending that card back to hand. Get that weak shit out of here. Going to grab the Fire Dance directly from our deck. We're going to go Prosperity here, trying to dig for a monster that we can summon off of the Fire Dance. There is an Oheim. Oheim being super useful. We're also able to see a Lava Goal in there, but we are going to go for the Oheim. They are going to go for Shangri-La here, locking up his own. We literally do not care. We're going to use Oheim, grabbing our Ceremony, dropping Diviner. Ceremony going to summon out the Oheim from the hand. Oheim, of course, is able to equip spells from the graveyard. We're going to banish our Quick Play spell. Unfortunately, I forgot that this was going to get banished by the Deep Fissure, so that was my bad. We are going to swing in, do 15-15. Not a ton of damage here, definitely not an OTK, but the Deep Fissure does make life slightly awkward, and we are able to main phase 2. This card's pretty interesting. Using Mikanko Reflection Rondo, we're actually able to steal his monster. That's pretty damn cool. I definitely like that. And it's not even a case of, oh, he just needs to get rid of this, because if this leaves the field, the monster it's equipped to also gets sent to the graveyard. So if he tries to take it back by destroying our equip spell, then he also still loses his Shangri-La. Going into the Rise Heart here, Rise Heart banishing Unicorn, banishing 3 from our deck to boost up to level 7, bringing out the Unicorn here from the banish pile off of the Birth, searching his deck for another Kashtira Birth. Now they're going to rank up into the Dark Armed Dragon of Annihilation here. They're going to normal summon out the Ogre. Ogre activating, searching a Preparations from the deck. You're going to see here where our opponent does exactly what I just described. They're going to go into their Royal Diabolosis. Diabolosis going to detach a material, banishing the Power Tool River Dragon, the banished cards off the top of our deck here. Aiming for the deck out by the looks of it, they're going to detach a material, popping the Oheim, and then they're also going to pop the Reflection Ronda, getting rid of their own Shangri-La. They are going to, of course, go into the battle phase, and I don't know if they just wanted to go into Zeus or what the plan was, but they are not able to destroy us. They go into Zeus here, Zeus sending the whole field to the graveyard, and unfortunately for our opponent, we have an insane level of follow-up in this hand. It's nutty what we can do with just even these two cards. Lava Golem's just the icing on top. We're going to go for the Fire Dance here, being met with a maximum sheesh, but honestly, that is a-okay. What we could have done is we could have, if we really wanted to BM, we could have gone for the water. We could have sent the Zeus to like grab back one of our monsters and did some combos and stuff. But again, you need to think outside the box. All we need to do is 3,000 damage, which means that we only need to summon a Mikanko. So by activating Fire Dance, all we're going to do here is it doesn't matter what he summons, it doesn't matter what he activates, it doesn't matter what he stops. We bring back the fire, he activates Birth, he banishes a load of shit. We don't care. Into the battle phase, swing into Zeus, and that's game. This deck just walks away with games that it has no right to walk away with. And again, worst case scenario, let's assume our opponent was on 8,000 life points there and that wasn't actually lethal. Well, we still had the water equip. We had the Hidden Armory, which would have got us Double-Edged Sword or Axe of Fools. We had Lava Golem and the tribute over his monsters. Like, insane follow-up with this deck. Honestly, Loki was definitely one of the best blind second decks. I think my favorite blind second deck that I've ever played. I'm not a fan of blind second, but this deck is actually making me a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. But anyway, into game 3. Alright, getting into the third game. Again, going second. It is a blind second deck. We're unaffected by the coin toss. And this is Labyrinth. So, a lot of people would look at this strategy and think, well, any strategy that relies upon your opponent needing to have monsters on board is inherently going to lose to any trap-based strategy. And you're right, that is definitely one of our weaker matchups, 100%. But unfortunately for our opponent, we're just that guy. So we're going to go for the water equip spell. That is totally fine. He's going to flip up Big Welcome and Regular Welcome here. Fair enough, I guess they want to get their board going. They're going to go for Lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. Popping our equip spell before we can even really get to use it. Big Welcome, then summoning out the lady, sending Ariana back to hand instead of sending the lady back to hand, which I thought was pretty interesting. They're going to pop the Axe of Fools from our hand, which is somewhat annoying, but we're going to use Oheim here, grabbing the Ceremony, sending the water to grave. Nini is literally just here. Right, we summon Oheim again. She's literally just here because I have it Royal Rare. It's kind of somewhat useful if you're forced to go first. But like, under virtually any other circumstance, this card is not that good. We're only playing it because it's royal. Oheim gonna grab the water equip from the grave. Again, doesn't matter, you destroy my equip, send in the grave, destroy my hand. I don't care, I'm just going to get it back. Setting Welcome Labyrinth from the deck to the field. Oheim's gonna grab the water equip, equipping it onto one of his monsters, summoning out the fire equip, sending Lady back to the hand. Get that shit out of here. We're gonna grab the Fire Dance from the deck, Fire Dance equipping on to our Nini from the graveyard, giving him his Chandelier back, which is a little bit of a misplay here, but that's totally fine because we've got the whole goddamn cast on board, buddy. Your ass is about to get fucked. We're gonna go 29, bouncing a card back to the hand, 29, And there we go, another 29, and we had another 29 after that, because you just swing in, reflect the damage, we're untargetable, we're indestructible. And we had it set up for next turn as well with the trap card. Like, incredible. Incredible. Beating our counters and everything. What more could you possibly ask for than a deck that doesn't care about the coin toss, doesn't care about its own counters, and will just win every game? Incredible. Love this deck. Into the deck profile. Now, I'm not going to be the guy who says that Mikanko is better than Pearly. I'm not going to be that guy. However, what I am going to say is that my win rate with Mikanko is through the fucking roof compared to Pearly. We win flat out using Mikanko. It just flips on its head the entirety of what we've been conditioned to believe the win condition of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, right? It plays in a completely unorthodox fashion. It subverts most common forms of interruption and removal. It's just so unique that it's very hard to counter, especially considering it doesn't give a shit about the coin toss. It would rather lose the coin toss and have the opponent pick to go first. And that's a large part of it as well. A large part of this deck and its win condition and how consistently powerful it is down to the fact that you're immediately removing that 50-50, right? So if you look at it from this perspective, if you look at a deck like Labyrinth, right? Well, Labyrinth's a bad example. Let's say Adamantipator, right? Adamantipator, really, really, really stupidly powerful deck, going first, right? Going first. Going second, well, it's one or two interruptions away from being useless, because you interrupt their normal summon and then maybe pop a researcher and then bang, they're done, right? So, Adamantipator are an absolute tier 1 threat going first, right? If they go first and they get their combo and they set up their board, they're going to fucking crush you. But they're only going to do that 50% of the time at most because of the coin toss. And even then, you're still going to have situations where they lose the hand traps and everything, so that automatically means that that win-loss ratio is going to be really negatively hurt and brought down to damn near half purely because of the coin toss. Whereas Mikanko isn't affected by that. And that's part of why I sort of like blind second decks. That 50% threshold is being immediately removed. You can win going second with those decks, of course, especially top tier strategies like Adamantipator. But if you look at a lot of rogue strats or anything like that, that sort of need to go first or need to do whatever, you're immediately losing half of your win rate just because of the coin toss. So that's one big reason as to why I like this. Number two, it subverts pretty much any board because it runs and loves to run Kaijus and Lava Golem. In fact, I would probably run more. But we did see them consistently enough. On stream, we saw them consistently enough. We didn't see them in this video at all. But on stream, after we sort of changed things around a wee bit, we did see them much more consistently. So that is totally fine. I didn't have any issues with that at all. So Kaijus and Lava Golem basically crush any board. It doesn't matter what negates, doesn't matter what interruptions, doesn't matter what floodgates you put up. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And that's what I love about it. And then, even then, if your opponent does have a board of interruptions or whatever it is, most of the time it's designed to stop a certain style of play. It's not designed to stop 0 attack point monsters crashing into your big monsters to kill themselves, which inherently then flips it around and kills. Like, it's, even if they do manage to build a board, and even if you don't have a Lava Golem, even if you don't have all of these things, people are still building their boards to deal with very specific types of interactions. They're preparing for Dragon Link, they're preparing for Labyrinth, they're preparing for Sword Soul, for Branded. They're not preparing to get their ass beat by some little fucking wind bitch with 0 attack points. Right? That's not what they're doing. So they're just not ready. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Let's go over the deck list. So first of all, hand traps, triple maxi, triple ash. We're not running Called By or Crossout because we don't need it. We just don't need it. You can have all the cards you want. You can have all the hand traps you want. It's not going to save you. So we run triple ash, triple maxi. That's fine. And the rest of the deck is pretty much core. You can throw Kashtira Fenrir into that category, although I really like Fenrir. I do really like Fenrir. So there's that. You've also got Lava Golem and Kaijus. I think these cards are core, to be honest. Maybe not this ratio, maybe not this selection, but I definitely think Kaijus and Lava Golem are part of what makes this deck playable, for sure. So yeah, not exactly a ton of flex, but all of this isn't necessarily rigid either. You can mess around with ratios, you can mess around with specifics and things like that, so it's not like hard press, you need to play exactly this, but this is pretty much what you're looking at. In fact, there's so few hand traps, let me just throw them back in. Fuck it. Where's Fender? Here it is. Yeah. So let's talk about the list. So how does it actually work? You've got 3 small Mikankos, and you've got 1 ritual Mikanko. They all basically do the same thing. Well, they all have unique effects, but they all have one common effect, where if they attack an opponent's monster, or if they're attacked, if they battle basically at all, they're indestructible by battle, and your opponent takes any damage that you would have taken. So the idea is you want to crash them into opponents' big monsters to force them to take a shitload of battle damage, and you're just going to win the game off of that. They all also have unique effects that activate when they're equipped with a card. So when Ha-Rei is equipped with a card, you get to search your deck for another Mikanko equip spell. When Hu-Li is equipped, you get to search your deck for a Mikanko trap card. When Nini is equipped, she gains a quick effect that during your opponent's turn, you can target a face-up monster that they control and steal it until the end of that turn. So she's a little bit better going first if you're ever forced to go first, or if you're unable to press for lethal. She's pretty decent. I'm running her because I have Royal Rare. That's it. A lot of people don't run this card, and I don't blame them. I haven't really used it very much, but it is just another name. It is just another effect. So you can do with that information what you will. Oheim is a little bit different. It does have the same primary effect. However, it also is a consistency card. So you reveal this card in hand, you search your deck for a Mikanko card and add it to hand. Right? Normally, you're going to add Ceremony. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Normally, you're going to search for Ceremony, which will allow you to special summon a Mikanko from hand, ignoring its summoning conditions, including Oheim. Right? So you'll usually summon Oheim off of this card. And on the field, Oheim has a quick effect that allows you to target an equip spell in grave and quick play equip it onto an appropriate target on field. That is especially useful, A, for follow-up or consistency and recycling some of your Mikanko equips, of course, or B, it's very useful with a few cards specifically, like Axe of Fools, which negates any monster it's equipped to, or Reflection Rondo, which allows you to steal the equipped monster from your opponent. There is also Double-Edged Sword, which it allows you to recycle, which we'll get to in a minute. Double-Edged Sword is fucking hilarious. I love that card so much. But yeah, basically allows you to recycle equips back from the grave, which is awesome. So this is a huge consistency card. I should mention that your small 3 monsters, so long as they have an equip spell, are indestructible by card effects. And so long as Hu-Li has an equip card on it, your opponent cannot target any of your Mikanko cards with card effects. So, yeah. Hu-Li protects everything from targeting. The equipped spells protect them all from destruction, except for Oheim, who can be destroyed like you saw in the gameplay. But yeah, generally speaking, they're untargetable and indestructible, which automatically makes them fucking nuts, because you can't beat them by battle either, right? So what do you what do you do? What the fuck do you do? So they're forced to get rid of back row. So if your deck doesn't have adequate back row removal, then you're in trouble. I feel like I'm going about this deck profile ass about face. So let's go ahead to our Mikanko cards, the equip spells. So we're staying focused on the Mikanko cards first. We got the Fire Dance, which allows you to special summon a Mikanko monster from your hand or graveyard, equip it with this card, and then you get the option to special summon a monster from your opponent's graveyard to their field. Now that's very useful, because number one, if they have a really big monster in their graveyard, you can summon it, and giving you an adequate attack target, so you can attack into it and deal a bunch of damage to yourself and thus your opponent. So that's one reason. Or number two, if they only have, like, maybe they only have Max C engrave or something like that, like you saw a bunch of times on stream, where they would try to play around Mikanko by not summoning any monsters, but they would still activate a hand trap, right? And what we would do is we would bring our hand trap back to the field, and we would tribute it for a kaiju. We would give them the big monster. So that little revival effect definitely does come up on occasion, but you don't want to use it every single time. It does negate the resummoned monster though, so it's not like end of the world. But yeah, it's definitely very good in a lot of situations. It can help you force through when your opponent tries to play around you. Very important. And then we got the water equip. This card is fucking nutty. This card is nuts. This might be the best card in the whole deck. I'm not gonna lie. Basically, The equipped monster can't be destroyed by card effects, first of all, so even something like your Oheim can't be destroyed, which is great. During your main phase, you get to special summon a Mikanko monster from your hand or deck with a different name than the equipped monster. You equip this card onto that card, and then you send the original equipped monster back to the owner's hand. So what we would normally do with this card, which is insane, is we would like Kaiju or Lava Golem our opponent's board, we would equip this onto the Kaiju, we would activate it to summon a Mikanko, bounce the Kaiju back to our hand, then usually our Mikanko would get to search for something. Like if we summon the fire one, it gets to search another equip spell. If we summon the wind one, it gets to search a trap card, whatever. And we get to use our Kaiju again. It's just nuts. It is also just generally good for removal and consistency. It's just an absolutely broken card. We have Reflection Rondo, which basically, so long as you control a Mikanko, this card can only be equipped to an opponent's monster, and while you control a Mikanko monster, you steal their card. But neither player can activate its effects so long as you control it. So it's basically just stealing a monster from your opponent during their turn, which is pretty handy. It's like Nini 2.0. And being able to activate this card, one from your graveyard off of Oheim, or from your deck off of Revelry, which we'll get to, means that you can basically quick play use this during your opponent's turn to just start yoinking their shit, right? And there's nothing more frustrating than that. It's especially useful against something like Kashtira. Being able to yoink their Fenrir's or their Shangri-La is just nuts. Mikanko danced, whatever that says, Mayo. So this one's a little bit different, right? So again, can't be destroyed by card effects. So if your equipped Mikanko monster battles, you send a card in the field back to the hand, right? That's kind of nice. But the unique part about this card is that this is actually a follow-up card. If this is in the graveyard, you get to target a Mikanko in the grave, special summon it, and then equip it with this card. So this is a really good one to send to grave off of something like Ceremony, which we're going to talk about in a second. Because it gives you a lot of follow-up. If, for example, you're unable to push for lethal and it ends up going to turn 4, this card really does help bounce you back quite a bit. So I definitely really like this card. You don't use it as much as the others, but you definitely use it. It is an excellent option to have in the back pocket, for sure. We've got the Great Mikanko Ceremony. Again, allows you to special summon any Mikanko from hand, ignoring summoning conditions, including Oheim. That's usually why you're using it, because Oheim can search for it. But during your main phase, you can also banish it to send a Mikanko card from your deck to the graveyard. Excellent for sending a, let's say you have Fire Dance in hand, well you can send a monster from deck to graveyard to summon off of it. Or you can send the equip spell from deck to graveyard to use its effect in grave. Or maybe you just want to have something in grave to recycle back off of Oheim, right? Lots of practical applications, all of which you can use. A very common play that we would do is we would summon Oheim off of Ceremony. Ceremony then would send Arabesque to the graveyard. Then we would use Oheim to equip Arabesque onto our opponent's monster, bounce their monster to summon our own Mikanko, and then we would do our whole combo, right? So that's a big play you can do. And Mikanko Rivalry, so long as you control a Mikanko, you can equip any equip spell from your deck to an appropriate card in the field. Normally you're going to use that alongside Axe of Fools or your Rondo to interrupt your opponent more than anything else, but you can technically also use it for any one of your other equips. So that's all the Mikanko cards. Again, they're really not that complicated, and the rest of the deck is basically built around setting up OTKs or consistency. So for example, we've got Fenrir here, which just special summons itself if you don't control any monsters. It's 2400 beater, and when it attacks, or if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish a face-up card your opponent controls. So removes problematic cards, it's a free summon for extra damage, it helps you put pressure on if your opponent tries playing around you. So Fenrir's definitely very, very powerful here. I definitely like that card a lot. We got Lava Golem, which you special summon to your opponent's field by tributing 2 of their monsters. Kaijus you summon to your opponent's field by tributing 1 of their monsters. And the idea is not only to remove their problematic bosses, but also to put into attack position some really big monsters so that you can target these for attacks and try to win the game with your Mikanko cards. It's a lot easier to make sure you can press for lethal when you're controlling the amount of attack points your opponent's monster has. So all of these are just to facilitate that, as well as to break boards. We've Hidden Armory, which searches for any equip spell, which is nuts. We have Preparation of Rites, which searches for your Oheim, which is pretty good. Again, it's just an additional 3 copies of Oheim. Pot of Extravagance, draw 2. We don't use our extra deck at all. We're not talking about the extra deck at all. It can be anything. We play Intis and Herald of Arclight just in case we come across Dogmatica, or if you really wanted to play Diviner in the deck, you could. But I only really have these here for like a Dogmatica matchup. Other than that, I literally don't care. But yeah, Axe of Fools, again, the equipped monster gains 1,000 attack points and has its effects negated. Again, your opponent getting bigger attack points is pretty important because, again, you want to do as much damage to yourself as possible. We have Double-Edged Sword. This card is fucking hilarious. If you watched our stream, better yet, if you didn't watch our stream, go watch it. The amount of times we were able to just absolutely cheat a win that we should not have had using this card is insane. So the equipped monster gains 2,000 attack points, and both players take any battle damage that would have been inflicted by a battle involving it. Now the thing about that is, the way the Mikanko cards work is your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken. So what's going to happen is, let's say for example you have a Lava Golem, you give your opponent a Lava Golem, it's got 3,000 attack points. Under normal circumstances, you attack into that monster and you deal to your opponent 3,000 damage, right? However, if you have Double-Edged Sword, you equip it onto the Lava Golem. Well, now Lava Golem's got 5,000 attack points. So whenever you attack with your Mikanko monster, you're going to take 5,000 points of damage, and your opponent's going to take 5,000 points of damage off of the Double-Edged Sword. But your Mikanko is going to reflect your 5,000 back at your opponent. So the amount of damage you dealt just went from 3,000 damage to 10,000. That is insane. So Double-Edged Sword will facilitate one card lethal all day, every day. This card is nuts. Absolutely. As a one-of, as a searchable one-of, as a recyclable one-of, absolutely. Double-Edged Sword is pretty fucking nutty. And I think that covers everything, right? Pretty much. Again, extra deck is pointless. We're not talking about it. The only 2 cards I really put in here were Intis and Herald, just in case we're against Dogmatica, so we can pop this shit and search for our ritual stuff. But that's, again, all of these were just the first cards that I clicked on. So it is what it is. That's the deck. Again, the deck is an absolute blast. If you're a fan of Blind Second, or if you're a fan of playing decks that don't play like the rest of the game, this is definitely one to invest into. It's a little pricey, depending on how you look at it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 URs I would say you need, which isn't that bad, because they're all in the one pack. Barring Double-Edged Sword, which you'll need to craft. I think Fenrir, I'm not counting Fenrir or anything like that, because these are staple cards. You either already have these, you should already have these. Fenrir's an amazing card, but if you don't break your back over crafting it. You can play it without Fenrir. But I do think Fenrir does add a lot to the strategy. But yeah, there's 9 URs. So it's not that pricey. But it's not cheap either, so I get it. But if you're interested in something, different change of pace, completely different style of play, this is definitely what you're going to be looking for. Or maybe you're looking for something else. But either way, if you want to catch more of the videos and more of the decks that we upload, all you need to do is subscribe, and you'll catch new videos every single day where I'm available to. Of course, I will be going on holiday very soon by the time you're watching this, so our uploads might be a little bit less consistent for the next little while. But by and large, it is 1 video per day. So, thank you very much for watching. Again, subscribe, like the video if you haven't, join as a member if you wish, and check out one of the other videos on the screen if you are so inclined to check out some of the other deck profiles that we've done, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.